It is time for my version of the Locked On Map tier list. I saw Captain Sloth's version of this, so I made my own template. His was a bit faulty, if to say the least. Yeah, so I made my own with actual pictures where you can see the full names. It was a nightmare to do. I had to redo it like 3 times. So I understand why he got it wrong. Let's get into it. I'm gonna go in order of alphabetic. And I have a list of certain aspects of the maps I'm gonna go through to make my arguments for why they are in the certain tier I placed them in. So first off, Avenue. It's a snow map, which means it is laggy. That brings it down. It's easy to spawn cap, even though there are 2 places to go, north and south, as you can see in the picture. If you go north, they will see it and they will go around, and they have the advantage because they come from south. And there's a lot of space under spawn, so they can just hide underneath and snipe, even though I know there's a zoom feature. Also, the home caps have space underneath them, which means even if you're in the early game capping your home point, you can get sniped from the other team before you cap it if you're alone capping. Design wise, it's actually not that bad. All of the features that are visible are good to the eye, so there's nothing wrong with that really. And special features, there are blocks that you can destroy. On this side you can see the stone blocks, on the other side there's like barricades, which you often want to destroy anyway because they're in the way. And then there's a gun puppy in the middle, which makes no sense. You don't want to be there. If someone else takes damage, you're losing potential damage, and if you get hit, you die easily. So, and it freezes. So overall, this is the worst map in my opinion. So, good start off. Downtown 6-point map. It's also a snow map, which means it's also kind of laggy. There's it's not really easy to spawn camp in this. You have a lot of space at spawn, which is good, and space under spawn. There's only space if you go south from here, and you can easily just take another route. So it's easy to overcome being spawn camped. Under the home cap, there are 2 home caps. There are an option to throw pots from the top points underneath there, but the south point, that's not really the option there. So it has limited space underneath the caps on the home points, which is good. Design wise, it's pretty good. I like besides for the lagginess, I like the design. Special features, the spikes are really nice. You have to time your routing. It doesn't take too long for them to go down. It's on a fairly fast cycle. They only stun you, so it means if someone else gets caught in them, you can kill them more easily. So overall, I think this is an A tier. So let's take facility. Also a 6-point map. Has a lot of space. Not really any special features that I can think of. But it's very hard to spawn camp this one. You face the enemies from spawn side to side rather than up down, which makes it I mean, if sometimes I've been spawn camped, I can wipe out the team if I have a good day. Yeah, space under the spawn camps. There is quite the space underneath pretty much every cap. So it's hard to cap in this map, which brings it down a bit. Design-wise, it's great. I like the style of pretty much every map, really. I don't know why I keep bringing it up. But there's too much space, actually. There's lots of space in the top caps on the corners where you don't even really go or ever have gone. But it's not laggy. No special features, which brings it down, I think. So I think this is a B tier. Forests, the least laggy map of all, and it's really dark, so I really like the design. And no lagginess. And the home caps, you can snipe people underneath them. There's a lot of space underneath. But you can't spawn camp. There are two options. You can go either south from spawn or north. And design-wise, it's like the perfect, just because of the forest theme with the darkness and the lighting only located near the capture points. Yeah, special features. There aren't really any special features what I can think of. But the design brings it up so much that it has to be an S2. And Fortress. It's a fairly new map, with spawn being one of the special features. There's spikes which you can bring down with the switch on the top caps, and the spawn barricade, or yeah, if you go north from spawn, you can't go back, which means if you're trying to cap the home point, you're not having any advantage going back to heal over the enemy, which is really bad. I like when you have the option to try and keep it fairly even between the two teams. So that's not an option in this map. And there's these small, you can see these small things here. They are spikes, and they're so in the way. I really don't like them, and they're narrow paths here that you have to go sometimes, or pretty much you have to go them if you want to avoid the one-way spawn north path. So this is just a really bad map, but it doesn't lag. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put it in F tier or D tier. It's definitely better than Avenue just because it doesn't lag that much. And it's so small that you can as a striker, you always have boost to spare. So that's a good thing. Frostbite. People don't like this because it's so stretched out, maybe, and it's a snow map, so it's laggy. But you can't spawn camp that bad because you face the enemies side to side. Yeah, multiple entries to spawn. I think 3 even. Special features are the gates in the middle and freeze traps. Freeze traps are so bad. And the gates are so annoying. Sometimes you go over the open gate, this gate, and it goes up, making you like lag backwards as if you didn't make it, even though you did make it on your screen. And the snowballs don't make it any better. So yeah, I have to put it in F tier. But it's not worse than the Avenue. I prefer Frostbite of Avenue. I don't know why. Maybe I think it's the spawn that just doesn't cut it for me. next is Furnace. It's a fairly small map. It has fire, the only map with fire, which is kinda bad, kinda good. I like the feature, it has to be in some map. FC is a huge part of the game. So no shadow fire in lockdown would just be, what are you even doing? So that's a good thing. But I think it could lag with the particles that are in the air when you play Furnace. So that's kind of bad. And you can spawn camp, it's fairly small. You can see the entirety of the spawn in one screen. So you can't really escape if you're swarmed with the enemy team in spawn. And when you're going to your home cap, you can get sniped very easily. Also bad. But design wise, with the fire and the extra thing with having to clear your paths or so down south, that's pretty good. You can create narrow paths for recons, which is good, or you can open it up if you don't like lava. The respawning lava in the tops here, people tend to not like it, but it helps you keep the cap longer. So that's a good thing in my opinion. But there are so many negative things, so I have to put it in either C. Yeah, C is a good place. Gardens. Bright map. The spikes are not in the way. Very easy to spawn camp. You can, with 2 Polaris users, you can cover the entirety of the spawn. And you can get sniped if you go down to your home cap. But the cap itself is kind of guarded from underneath. The top cap, very open space, which is good. And the only special features are the spikes with the shortcuts, which is like a high risk, low reward thing. But when you see that they time for you, they do work if someone has been there before in the same game, because there's a huge chunk of stones as well to bring down. So the spawn thing brings it down a bit, but it's still a solid map, so it's an A tier. Then we have Icebox. I already mentioned Frostbite. You can see the theme of snow maps being lowered down generally. It's the same for this one. The lag, the freeze. I mean, if you get stuck there, you'll die. On top of this, the switch can switch this on, which covers the entirety of the middle cap, which is so bad. And there's also slimes everywhere. So in the end of the game, there are ice slimes everywhere. And the caps are sorted very uniquely, which is 1, 2, 3. So there's not a home cap, which is kind of bad. So overall, I don't see anything good with this map, really. Yeah, maybe spawn is kind of good. You can't get spawn cap that easily. Doesn't matter, still an F tier. But it's above Frostbite, I would say. There's no snowballs. Mines, that's a common favorite, I think. There's a heal pad in the middle, which brings everyone to it for some reason, even though the objective is the cap. I noticed that you increase your longevity, so I've had games where I've stayed alive for the entire fight or the entire game, just because of the heal pad. You can stay near fights and heal at the same time. and there's a huge variety in spawn. You can go north and south. What more? It's not that laggy. So yeah, I can't think of anything bad besides for when you're going out of spawn, you often get sniped. You have to like stop, fill up your boost if you're a striker, or yeah, because it's very common that people wait down in the corner next to spawn. So just because of that, it's an A tier. Necropolis, 6-point map with the undead theme with gravestones and things. The special feature is the box with the switches. Overall, pretty good spawn. Lots of space to either go up or to two home points that are easy to cap. You can't get sniped in pretty much either of them. And then there's the middle point, which has pretty much no flaws. I can see anything bad with this map. It's also dark, which it's a great design choice for me. I like dark maps more than brightness. So it has to be. I'm not sure if it's an S or an A tier. I'm gonna go with an A tier. Pipeline. I think it's the laggiest map, even though it's not a snow map, which is just awful. They came up with the three most recent maps are Fortress, Icebox, and Pipeline. Two of them are very laggy, and the third one is just terrible in other aspects. First of all, the traps themselves take so long to despawn, and there's also some switch which I don't even know what it does. There's no switch to switch them off or instantly turn them on. The barricade, which you have to break down every start of the game, it's just annoying. The home cap is easy to snipe. There's lots of space near spawn, so often you don't fight on the spawns, you just fight on the big space down here. And there's a narrow path up there, which I like. The lagginess just brings it down so much. But at least it's not a snow map. So it's either F or D tier. I think it's a D tier in my opinion, because I would much rather have that one than any of these. Ramparts, 6-point map. Very, very unique in that it has gates on 2 places and fire pots, and the cut off lonely cap in the bottom. That's also kind of a feature of its own. The only other map I can think of that has the same is Icebox with the cap down there. Yeah. So very spacious as spawn. There's even one part of spawn which is further to the right or left, depending on which side you spawn at, which means it's more suited to go downwards in the beginning there. And the gates up to the sides, they are meant to be shortcuts if you die and have been in your home cap, which is a good point. That's a good thing. And sometimes the enemy even opens them for you, which is good. There's also space up in the middle over here where you can fight if you clear up the other blocks there, the stones and other breakable blocks. Shortcut here is great. These aren't really that annoying. You can't really get sniped in You can get sniped from here, but you can see when people use the switches. And none of the other caps can get you sniped if you stand far away from the edge here. So overall, it's a very solid map. So I would put it in A tier. Then we have Reactor. I think it's the first map I ever played on. I remember playing Recon with a Shadow Driver with Nameless. That's my first game ever. The special features are these explosive blocks and a shock trap there, shock trap at the top. All of those are just annoying in my opinion. The spawn is terrible, and you can get sniped and spawn camped really easily. But the home caps are great once you get down there. There's very little chance to get like sniped when you're at the capping in your home cap. So it's a solid map. These are usually gone by the first minute, and you don't have to walk close to the shock, so it's not that annoying. And the design is great. So for me, it's a B tier. Then we have Ruins. It's a bigger variant of Gardens. It's very spread out. And the cap is not really that spawn campable. The narrow path here, which is usually the safer option, just ends up being in the other person's advantage. Usually it's very easy to get just locked in a combo of a heavy sword, or if you get shocked you can't run away really. So that narrow path, which you always have to take because you don't want to take the north path here, just here, then you are visible to them and not vice versa. But the top part, that's really good. What else to say about this? There's no really special features. There's a lot of bushes. There's HP under these bushes as well as in these bushes. And there's hills, which could work in your advantage. If you can't charge like branch charges up hills, but down hills you can. It's a lot of space, but it's usually around the caps anyway. So it's either a B or a tier for me. There's a lot of A tiers because there are it's very easy to just prefer some of the others. If I compare these to the other 6 points, if I compare these two, I'd rather have ramparts, I'd rather have necropolis, just because of the lack of special things in this. It's gonna go in B tier. I'm gonna sort these later because I think this is better than facility. These are sorted. I haven't sorted these. Mine's definitely up here. Maybe like this. There, better sorting. Okay, last. Stadium. It has a few special features. It has healing pad. Oh, I didn't think of that. The second map with healing pad. It's very huge, and it has these extra barriers. Oh, there, which you can hide inside, and then there's also like there if you think past this black thing here, which is on your own side they are shoot through, but the enemies can't shoot through it. And there's also a thing down here in the home cap, but it's very long there, a long way there. You have to go and waste more than one boost just to get close to it. And the top home cap has a lot of space underneath it, and there's a fire trap as well, which you have to wait for pretty much always. Rarely you don't have to wait for it, because you don't want to risk getting burned. It takes a lot of damage, especially if you go in Black Cat or Chaos. So a lot of travel. The middle cap has very much space, almost too much space, to the point where you can't fight on the cap, because then you get sniped from underneath, either by someone charging up with a heavy sword as a striker or final flourish, or just sniped with a Wintergrave or driver. So this is the first 6-point map that I'm ranking kind of low, I think. But there's nothing that bad with it, just so many flaws to keep it away from the upper 3 here. So I think it's a C tier. But it's definitely better than Furnace. Come on, there. So that's my tier list, with Forest in the S tier. Very easily the best one in my opinion. While all of these snow maps, besides for downtown, end up in F tier. Do try it yourself. I'll link it in the description, or you can comment if you have any opinions on how I put it here. And yeah, see you next time.